Welcome back, everybody, to the show this week. I'm joined by a good buddy of mine, someone that I highly respect out here in this outdoor space, and that is Byron Horton from the Whitetail Experience. Byron, it's been since August since the last time we recorded, so, dude, it's a pleasure having you back on.
Hey, I appreciate it. I've been catching a lot of your episodes lately, and I do enjoy them. I do enjoy the Pennsylvania woodsman of you and then some of your pursuits out of state.
Heck yeah, Byron. I appreciate that, man. Dude, so before we get into some things, I got to ask you, because you're someone that, again, we talked a little bit about self-filming last time. And again, you've been doing a lot of really cool things for many years for companies, for your own brand. How much time do you spend editing, man? Like,
Ooh,
either like on a given day, maybe a week, or a certain type of video? Like, how much time do you spend behind the computer with that?
yeah. So I do have a day job, so I'll preface that.
Yep.
But a good example would be the last few weeks. Like, I feel like since January 1, I've been hitting it hard as far as I have a few clients, I have a few things due. I've been waking up at 5 a.m. and editing for an hour and a half every day during the week. I've done some weekends, but like yesterday I got up at 4:50, started editing from 5 to 6:20, and then shot a handful of stuff in the garage last night and clocked out about, I caught the end of the Mavs game. So I clocked out at 9:30. There was a gap in there when I drove home and saw the kids and left the phone in the car on purpose, right? Like,
Yep.
I do try and really separate those things to give it 100%. But to, I don't know, a solid 5-hour minimum.
Yeah.
15, 20, if sometimes the workload is there and the deadlines are there.
Yeah. So let me ask you this question, because, you see millions of reels are online as far as like YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, but like, let's just stick to an Instagram one, just because that's probably where I'm most active. I deleted my TikTok. I'm not even on that anymore. So when you look at piecing together like at least a good reel, man, it's definitely over an hour, don't you think?
Yeah. I easily say, as far as editing. So I
Yep.
did a couple XOP reels this week, and they were very easy, like talking heads, but there's a couple extra graphics. There's a couple extra of sound design pieces. I used some animation to show some lines and stuff. And I had both those reels were a minute, and they took me an hour to edit, and they were very, very easy. Now, sometimes like I'll have like a 15, 30-second like sizzle that doesn't take me terribly long. It kind of depends.
Yeah.
If I shoot something, I can edit it much quicker, right? Because like you're almost producing it in your head as you're shooting it. You've pieced it together. You kind of know a vibe or maybe some music that you're going to pair with it, or a concept behind the shoot. But yeah, it's sometimes it's literally like a 15, 20-second video might take you an hour to edit. I did a promo for a company, and the first 5 seconds is got like 8 layers of sound, maybe 4 or 5. 8 might be a bit much. And the right shots at the right tempo. Dude, I think the first 10 seconds took me an hour and 30 minutes to get the way I wanted it.
Dude, that's the kicker, is what you want it to be, right? Like you said, you might halfway through, you're like, oh man, here's another idea that I could throw into this, and that just keeps adding on and building on. And to kind of even go piggyback of what you said, when you are excuse me, editing your own or filming your own stuff, you're, like you said, you're producing it almost as you're capturing it. So you kind of have a good feel of like, okay, this is how I'll edit that out, or however you see fit, or that's when I'll cut to that next aspect of the shot. This past week, I edited my first self-filmed like promotional reel or something along those lines. Dude, it is tough. It is like pulling in from a bunch of different other videos and stuff like that. I was like, I see where people have said it's a lot more difficult, challenging. It wasn't, I shouldn't say difficult, but it was definitely a different challenge that I was used to.
Yeah. When I used to edit for a web show, like you have to watch all that footage because you don't even know what's there. You don't even know what you got. And that to me, that's a very slow, like it's a slower process. And I will never put together your video clips as good as you would
Mm-hmm.
if somewhat skills are close, because you know what's on there and you've kind of mapped it in your head, and you already have a vision.
Right. Yeah, dude, I appreciate you kind of sharing that to kick things off with me, just because I was like, man, I got to ask Byron this because you do a heck of a job. And I know you dabble with companies and you're doing all that type of stuff. And I knew you have a full-time job. Like this isn't it for you. Because obviously I'm in that same boat. I'm a teacher and now I have a 2-month old as we speak, or no, yeah, she's past 2 now, 2 months old. And obviously my 10-year-old daughter, and life's I'm embarking on a different challenge here this spring, obviously going to continue scouting, but I'm going to be taking up some more of a serious side of things when it comes to archery this spring and summer. I'm actually going to do some money shoots, which I've never done before. I've always shot local 3Ds and TAC events and stuff like that, but never really committed myself to be, hey, see how sink or swim type of ordeal. Like you played, soccer at the collegiate level. You have that competitive nature in you. I was in the same boat, not soccer. And right now, man, it's like oozing out of me. I'm like, I need to do something to feel that pressure. And if hopefully I swim, and I'm sure I'll sink a little bit or a lot, we'll see. But I'm
Yeah.
excited for that one though, Byron. But go
How's
ahead.
your golf game? Because I used to shoot in some money shoots on Fridays when I was in like my mid-20s.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's funny because I compare it a lot to golf. And if I want
Uh-huh.
to play well at golf, like I don't talk to you.
Right.
Like I'm thinking about the next shot. I'm staying focused. I'm not a nice guy. Now, if I'm just kicking back and we're playing golf, like it's a different vibe. But I noticed with archery shoots for cash, like the ability to focus for every shot in that 2 hour window, because like it's a long shoot to shoot 20 targets,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
was like something that I didn't see coming. And Andy, my buddy, we used to go to a few money shoots a year, and he's truly the better archer. Like he's a really good shot. But like I would beat him because I could put together 2 hours of really high focus and not pick up an 8.
Mm-hmm.
And he'd had, guys talking would forget to move their sliders, and they'd take an 8 or a 5 on a random target. Like the course would give you like a 7-yard chip shot, and then the next one would be 33 yards, and guys would forget.
Yeah.
Stuff like that would get people.
That's actually really good. I love that comparison. So my golf game is, it depends on how much I've been playing, but like you said, if I really need to focus, and man, I didn't really think about it that way. Cause man, obviously running a podcast, I love, I'm a teacher. I love meeting people, talking to people. And that is the side of things where it's like, you know what, I better when I enter these and compete, not like you said, not to be not a nice guy, but really focus. And I was talking to Jim before we even started recording this podcast, and we were kind of going through a little bit of a kind of like a practice kind of regimen that we could try to do and piece together. And he's like, dude, every arrow needs to be purposeful, meaningful, with focus. Like this is the one that counts. Okay, if that's your first arrow, that same focus needs to be like that on your 8th, 9th, 10th, and up until however many we plan on shooting. So yeah, it's definitely going to be a cool experience. I plan on kind of capturing it too a little bit, just because I know millions of archers are out there. You know what I mean? And I know I'm going to put myself out there, but I my goal is with that is for someone like your neighbor. You know what I mean? Where if they're like, you know what, that's pretty cool. He's putting himself out there. I want to follow along, and I want that. He motivated me to maybe do that. I want that because man, a couple of years ago, I struggled with the shot process. Years prior to that, I never did until I went down that rabbit hole of enjoying archery, and then that's when it went bonkers. And I feel pretty good with where I'm at, and so it's like, let's challenge yourself here and get outside your comfort zone.
Yeah, I like it. I think that'll be cool to watch. Now, full disclosure, if I shoot even a promo video in the backyard, or I've gone to the working class bow hunter shoot a few times and put a video together at that shoot, dude, my focus on the shoot is so bad, and my arrows are not like, I never can shoot good in front of the camera because I'm more worried about the shot. You think about two things. Like, yeah, it did not go well for me, even if we went outside and shot arrows and like, hey, let's shoot a hype video or let's shoot a quick sizzle. Like my arrows would not be as good as if that camera's tucked away somewhere else.
Yeah,
So
no,
my hats off to you. I'm glued in, and now the audience has got to watch how this progresses.
I know, man. I'm excited. We'll see. Hopefully I don't make an ass of myself, which I know I'm sure I'm going to at some point. But hopefully early on we could get things rolling, man, with it. But dude, here's there's like two topics. Well, I shouldn't say two. There's one specific topic that I'm hoping that we get in. But before we do with that one, Byron, the last time we talked in August, we talked about your goals, your process of like breaking down certain time periods of leading into the season. Like, here's what you did, here's what you do, here's your goal with it. Now that that time has come and gone and the season is wrapped up, I know lately you've been getting out a little bit more scouting and doing some things. And so like come postseason, man, what were some of your goals with that, and did you accomplish any thus far? And if not, which ones are you still working on and looking ahead to as far as that goes? Just because again, I loved your conversation as far as goals went, and obviously doing the things you do, you're a very goal oriented individual, so I would love to hear your perspective on this.
Yeah, I would chuck my 2023 season straight up. It's a fail. Did not capitalize on opportunity. You know, it's kind of that Kobe mentality, like job not done. Like, dude, I did not kill a buck, so like, kind of a fail. Like that is the number one goal. Do I enjoy some things? Did I do some cool things? Sure. I saw the most shooters I've ever seen in person under 100 yards, but that's great. But bow hunting is inside of 20 yards with an arrow through the lungs,
Right?
So it's like, you know, didn't. Got to get better. Like that's pretty plain Jane. I think I'm going to shift some things. I think I'm going to chase experiences too a little bit. And yeah, I got some hunger. I got some things I want to do differently next year. I think I'm going to go old school. No trail cams.
Nice.
I don't know if I'm going to take stick bow all season, but I definitely will incorporate it even more. It's funny, you know, to get a deer inside of my stick bow range, which was like 15-ish yards. Like I look at like some does I could have shot, and honestly, like I had a rainy day hunt where I did shoot a deer at like 7 yards with a compound, like, and I was like 3 feet off the ground, so that was like cool. But it was raining that day, so I took the compound, and I was like, God bless, like. I had scouted the day before, figured out a decent ambush point. Actually, the day before, I had a racked buck at like 4 yards on the ground, and I had turned around to grab my backpack, and he was literally 4 yards on the other side of the bush from me. So that was pretty cool. Like, yeah, I had a lot of cool encounters, a lot of good rack bucks, but like, yeah, I did a fail. Going to change some things for 2024, and going to chase some experiences, going to chase some good times. Might hunt with my buddies a little more, like. I don't know. I definitely think I'm going to change up what I've been doing. And I've heard Tony Peterson talk about it. Like sometimes when you kind of lessen your tactics, you start tipping shit over.
So doing the whole trail cam thing, I was sitting there the other day and I was trying to count, like, how many cameras do I have? Right. Like I have a handful of Exodus ones, but even that, I don't have that many. I have a Trek still, which is still kicking from like 4 years ago. I have a Rival and 2 renders. So I have 4 Exodus cameras, and all 4 are back at home in northeastern Pennsylvania. Then I'm trying to count here. I know I have 1 close to my in-laws' property that I hunt, and then 2 out on some state game lands, and that's all. I'm okay with that many. Some of them, honestly, Byron, I don't even use them for in-season intel. Now, the ones back at home, my Exodus ones, I probably do. I shouldn't say that I don't, but these other ones, I almost put those out and get in like for the intel for next year and see how deer move. And hell, who even knows they're going to use that same location? It's just kind of that's what I hopefully use this postseason time frame right now to get out there. And if I go back to that spot, like, okay, it's the same sign as last year, or it's tore up more or less, and then I kind of shift. That's kind of my thought process with it. But man, I guarantee you, dude, you're not going to be the only one that lean toward this, and that will kind of lead into a specific question I have regarding that. But so like now that the season's over, you know, you want to change some things. What what kind of goals do you have for yourself this kind of time frame before the summer rolls around?
Okay, like off season wise, like got to get to 50 miles as far as before Turkey. And I
Mm-hmm.
used to do like 70 and then like another 30 to 50 in Turkey, and you kind of have a 100+ mile goal. But I got 2 little ones now. I have exited the days of like I would rewind. I don't know. My son's 4, so rewind 5 years ago, and my wife's a nurse at the time, and she would occasionally work like a double weekend. So I would shed hunt with the 2 bird dogs all day Saturday, like 7-8 miles in the hills. Come home, ice bath the legs, not drink any beers because I knew I was going the next day. And so I would do that a lot. If she worked a double on a weekend, I was trying to get 20 miles. And so, yeah, like I'm just not at the point to do that. So like 50-ish is kind of the goal. We do a guys scouting shed trip in March, and we try and coordinate that with the kickoff of March Madness. So like day 1, you shed hunt pretty hard, and day 2, you come back at like 3:00, play cornhole and put the rabbit ears on and pull in CBS and watch sports and drink beer and smoke ribs. Like it's a little bit of a guys retreat, and we love it.
Yeah, that sounds awesome, dude. That sounds actually like a really cool, fun trip. There's something that Jim, Tim, and Tom, the 4 of us, we've been saying the last. Now, Tom just had his first born at the end of January, I think. So, or middle of January timeframe, and we like, man, this spring it would be awesome to get together. Either before turkey season, so we're trying to figure something out because of that. Like what you said, man, like I'm like, dude, could I come to that? Like that sounds like a lot of fun to get together, you guys, go do some shed hunting, do some tailgate, have some good food, and watch some basketball. Like that, I don't know, man, that's the camaraderie that I love to hear about.
Yeah, it's like a deer camp, but no hunting. Like, and you're scouting, and you're still walking. You're still in the woods. You're still tapping into Mother Nature. It's great.
Yeah. So here's a question. This is something that I implemented more so last year than any year prior when it came to scouting a little bit. I've kind of designed a pre-route, like especially when I know I'm limited on time. Like if my wife's like, "Hey, we have this going on later on this afternoon." I'm like, "Okay, let me do this on whatever mapping service," and I look and I go there and I kind of follow it, and obviously I deviate where needed, you know what I mean? But I felt like that helped me to stay a little bit more focused and really hone in on what I'm seeing and what I'm reading in the woods. Do you do anything like that, or do you just pick a piece and you're going crazy?
No, like I do have like a general route, but I intentionally like I'm gonna take last week. I think I did 9 miles on Friday, and I had a couple areas in mind, a couple trail camps to get to. So those are like direct purpose walks, areas of interest. But I try not to look at my phone a ton. I think in my early 20s, I was very guilty of just looking down at the phone and not letting the woods and habitat tell me where I need to be walking and looking. And honestly, a huge advantage was having the bird dogs back in the day, because they're at deer trail level and they eat deer shit, and they kind of naturally find a little bit more of the best route through things, being a 4-legged animal. And I don't have those anymore, unfortunately. But yeah, so I definitely try and not look at the phone too much, unless like, hey, I want to purposely go to, I don't know, let's say there's a hogback on the on a mountain that you want to check out. Okay, I'm going there, and I do glance and okay, verify I'm on that route there. But I find myself more and more, I want to go like instinctual and try and figure things out and take routes that I naturally end up walking, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's I'm glad you said that you're not just staring at your phone like, okay, I'm on this trail, right? Like that was just kind of like, hey, am I in the general vicinity? I love that you said that. That's a good tip that think about as you're listening to this. Do you do that? And if so, are you constantly looking at your phone while you're trying to make sure you're on that right quote unquote track? It's just kind of a guideline, right?
Sometimes I pull out my compass too on the phone, because you can kind of tell, like you can tell when you're looking at the map, north, south, east, west, like they got those options or whatever. But when I switch over to either just a full compass on that thing, there's little details you pick up as far as wind direction, wind mapping, and also like, oh, this point does grab some like southern rays, or could get some early sun. There's a lot of other things I think, I don't know, I try to tap into out there besides the phone.
Means to you, right? And our lab, like I said, a newborn from afar, man, it's extremely important that I see where you believe kids need to be involved, and you do it with your kids. Like, I love watching when you highlight those opportunities where you bring them outside with you. I want to hear from you why you believe it's important, right, to bring our kids with us and get outside and do that, because are we heading in that right direction, right? And I think going back to what you were saying about the trail cam things, like the aspect of having the standard ones, I remember hearing you saying like that's a fun thing to do with your kids, right? Like, let's check in and along those lines. When you take that cell cam in there, that removes that, unless they're coming with you just to put it out. So I guess kind of, I want to hear your perspective of why you do that and why you think it's important to bring not only your kids but other kids in general, to expose them to outdoors.
Yeah, and I've probably done a lot better job. My son's older now, and so like, it's not that he's just a boy, but he can walk through the woods now, and he can. Mm-hmm. He's much better on 2 feet. But I still take my little girl. We live on 2 acres, and I got a little wooded trail that, I don't know, in a half mile I can get to a creek that's got a nice little bank system that they can throw 1,000 rocks into the river. And yeah, we do that a lot.
That's awesome.
No, so I think getting people, let alone kids, outside in natural sunlight, like, dude, there's something going on there that we need to do more of. I have joked that if everybody in the U.S. spent like 3 days in a backcountry hunt environment where your first thought of the day is where's filtered water, like, the world would be such a better place. But yeah, like, I want to, dude, I cannot sit still, and I get cabin fever, and I hate being inside for hours on end. Like, I get bored. I'm like, we need to go do something. Like, daylight is wasted. So yeah, I try to take especially my son, what are we doing on Saturday? Hey, let's go down and throw rocks in the pond down the street for 20 minutes. Or like, I took them sledding I was not afraid of 25 minutes of sledding. Mm-hmm. Where I knew we were not going to be there all day. We don't even have a good kid sled. I threw them in the jet sled, pulled them around, but we were outside. And yes, it took me longer to dress them than we actually spent on the hill. But I heard another thought around doing these things, because taking kids places is kind of a pain in the ass. I mean, car seats, layers, snacks, water, the puppy dog my daughter loves. Like, dude, it is a nightmare to go out the house. But I heard Jason Samkoviak talk about, like, going places, even if the travel time is greater than the experience, is important, because you'll always want to tee up that Saturday with great weather to take the kids out fishing, and you'll wait all year and you only have gone 2 times. Versus if you volume shoot and go 15 times, even if it's for 15 minutes or 10 minutes, one of those times the fish are going to be biting like crazy, and the kids are going to catch 5 fish in 15 minutes, and they'll remember that. Yep. And so, yeah, that thought is something that is engraved in me, that to volume shoot and go, because you'll catch magical experiences. You gotta give it, like, magic a chance. You got to give impossible a chance of something cool happening. But yeah, I think it's important to get the kids outside. I think it's important to take them outdoors. We live outside. I got a TV in the garage, and in the summer, man, we're going outside. Like, we don't come in. We grill outside. We got sandboxes going on. We got multiple kiddie pools out front when the weather's nice. Like, yeah, you got to get them kids out. It wears them out too, which is great.
Yeah. No, and the reason why I wanted to ask, just because obviously, one, I love watching, seeing the cool things that you're doing, and get ideas for even my oldest daughter, who's 10. And man, when you said about the fishing thing, I think back to last summer, we went maybe 2-3 times. Right. And like, there were many other opportunities that I wanted to go more, and we did other things too. I mean, we bike we rode our bikes almost every day at some point. And like you said, for the most time, because their attention span's even worse than ours, where they're like, okay, 15, 20 minutes, I'm done. Right. Like right now, my daughter has something Monday through Friday of some sort every evening. Like Monday's guitar, Tuesdays, one certain type of dance. Wednesdays, she was doing singing lessons. They're on hold with the teacher until I think next month. Then Thursday's another dance. And then Friday is her only free night. And so I was like, hey, listen, with my school, we just did this training thing with our local rock climbing facility. And obviously I climb trees. I love hunting and all that stuff. But other than that, man, like I'm not a daredevilish person. I don't like roller coasters. I'm the person, if I'm there with, like if you're there as with your family and your wife goes on and you go on and my wife goes on, I'll be like, yeah, I'll hold whatever purses and drinks. And I'm that guy on feet on the ground. So I was at this training and I did it. And I was like, wow, this is so much fun. Like I'm going to go up higher. They have like cool bouldering things. I did the belaying and all that stuff because we have it at our school. And I said to my daughter, I was like, hey, listen, Wednesdays now you're free. I was like, let's go rock climb. And she was like, I was like, come on, just come with me one time. So this week, as we're recording this, I'm on spring break. My daughter still has school because of different districts that she goes to and what I work in. I go, we're going. So I take her and I get my shoes. I go, here, let's get you shoes. Like, I get shoes. That way, if you climb, you'll feel the grip on them. So she gets up on the padded mat with me, and I do an easy one. I'm like, see, look at that. And I just jump down like, that's fun. So she's like, okay. And she does it a little bit. And I'm watching her. And she's like, looking. She does a different one. She gets a little bit higher and she starts going. And she just kept getting that motivation to go. Dude, we had a blast. She's like, look at my knuckles, Dad. Like I scraped them. I'm like, yeah, dude, like awesome. She's high-fiving me. She's watching other people. She's trying some hard ones. She's jumping down. And we were there for 45 minutes, I think it was. And she's like, dude, I'm starving. I'm like, let's go eat. Here we go. Let's go grab some food. And man, it was just, I know it's not hunting related, but just something like that to get her outside of her comfort zone. What we're talking about earlier, what I'm going to try to do. It was just so cool to see getting outside of her comfort zone, never doing that. Man, it's just, I think we do need to do a little bit more, like you said, even not children, just adults. And my wife, she's got cabin fever with being home all the time with the newborn. And it's like, as soon as we get home, if it's nice out, we're outside. I just, I couldn't agree more with that. And I like seeing what you're doing and what other individuals on social media, when they do stuff, it helps, man. Like there's a conversation, a text message with a friend of mine, and he was asking me about the baby and all that type of stuff. And we were sharing some things because he has some new young children too, young, like 2 and young, and younger, I think. And it's just cool to have a conversation where like, we're doing okay. Right. Even if like we feel like we're struggling at times, man, like we're doing okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
It's just, I don't know, man. It's tough, but I like your perspective of the volume. That is a critical thing because you never know, like when, like you said, when those fish could be biting and all that type of stuff. Yeah. I like it, dude.
You gave something a chance, and 10 out of 10 experience. You don't know when that's coming. Yeah.
Yeah. You just don't know. So with that, we're in that dog days weird time, I guess you could say, of the quote unquote off season. And now that the hunting season has gone and passed, and you've been at this, Byron, for how many years have you been putting yourself out there with the Whitetail Experience?
I think the Whitetail Experience now is like 8-ish years old.
Yeah. So like I would consider you as far as one of the pioneers in this, right? Like for what we see today, right? As far as like the online social media, YouTube, that type of stuff, man, where are we headed? Are we in a good spot?
From a content standpoint, a hunting industry standpoint, the future of hunting, that is a loaded question. I'm not sure.
That is a loaded question. I would say maybe let's do like a mixture. Okay. You know what I mean? Because I know last time when we talked about that pay to play situation. And I've been hearing more about that than anything, more so it seems like recently. I've heard a couple people, man, I lost this property and that type of stuff. But like just your general thoughts. I guess, on any one of those three. You pick it, man. However your gut's telling you to go, let it rip.
Yeah. I listened to Kenyon and Johnson and Tony Peterson talk about like the hunting space as a whole and hunting in the future. And they did express some concerns. I do have some concerns. I think on a positive real quick, I think content and the space is better than it used to be, the TV days.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a mixture of people putting out relatable stuff, niche stuff. I think the way to consume it's even better from a YouTube podcast. You can download stuff, take it with you. You can listen to it while you drive. Way better. I do think we have learned some lessons as to not oversharing. I think some people need to be respectful a little bit and kind of do some more dialing it back as far as don't put maps, don't put roads, don't put some of that where you are type information out in the world, because somebody else who also hunts that spot could be affected from it if it's a shared resource. I do think that. Now the overall future of the space. So I have some thoughts around this. I would say, this could get a little dark, but I think hunting companies that manufacture goods and services sometimes maybe don't necessarily care about the quality of hunt the hunter is going to have. They only care about making the sale. Because as we become more effective, right, the information's better than it used to be. The tools are getting better. I mean, the fact that land and deer are both a limited resource, we become more effective, the guy who's chasing the big buck is now going to limit access here and there and here because he can effectively hunt all three areas. And again, those hunting companies don't care that he's now displaced 5 or 10 hunters off a farm that he just purchased. And yes, his quality of hunt might be better, but now 9, 10 other people are now jammed into the public because that's the only thing left. I do have a fear that if things continue, somewhat of the Europe hunting pay-to-play model is going to be here. I need to get another piece for me and my son, because the public land only has more hunters than it did 10 years ago. They're better hunters, and that's good.
Yeah.
But the hunting on the public is not as good as it was 10 years ago because of just we've got better predators on the landscape there and more of them. It's not a bad thing. Some people have shot some great deer, made some great memories. But if I want to continue to just have good hunts and enjoy the sport and have that ability, I probably need another piece of ground. Maybe and trade that up and get a bigger acreage at some point if I can afford it, if I want to hunt in the future.
Now, what has led to your decision about the trail cam going naked with it next year?
Okay. One, like I've always wanted to be a really I try to do things at a high level. I want to be a good hunter. And in 5 years, if I turn up a really nice buck that I want to kill in the future, if I go a season without trail cams and figure out a deer and figure out the right ambush point, I'll only have more experience to chase that giant, right? Is I want to dial in my woodsmanship more. And how do you do that? Well, you take the tool that tells you a big one was there. It gives you a visual sign of that deer, and now you've got to find him by all natural manners, right? I'm just taking a piece of technology out of the game. I want it to be me that figures out that buck. I think that would make me a better hunter, and in the future that can pay off, right? I think another aspect to that is you got some mystery.
Yep.
We are missing that. I do think we are robbing you and I used to go to the woods and you'd be like, dude, a mega hammer jammer could come out of that woods, like this bottom right here off that mountainside. And there are guys that go hunting, especially like, I don't know, if you look at some of the Midwest whitetail hunts, like they know 80-90% the deer that end up showing up in that hunt. They'll see like
Yeah.
8 deer and they can name them all or know they're like, it's kind of, there is no surprise. And
Right.
I don't know. I think I kind of want some of that back. I kind of look at this season as maybe back to the roots is kind of my theme.
I like that. Though.
That's been a theme of mine. I want to hunt with some buddies a little more. I'm going to do some stupid things. Like I'm going to invite a couple guys and we're going to stack 2 dudes on my 18-acre farm and we're going to hunt it 2 or 3 times. Maybe one of us will kill a buck. That's probably not the best long-term approach for good hunting in January on that piece. But, because over the last 5 years, I've been like, nobody else has hunted my farm. And rewind when we were in our early 20s, me and a buddy, dude, we were hunting that thing every Sunday.
Right.
And it was a hoot. We made some fun memories. We killed some deer, but like we probably weren't. That's not a recipe to shoot giants off that piece.
Right. It's just all about the good times, man. As you're sitting there thinking, years ago, I would say about 4 or 5 plus years ago, I would run cameras in the summer just because I had the time or like whatever. But then I was always afraid to leave them up during the hunting season, just either being stolen or for whatever reason. That for my logic was like, all right, hunting season, like pull them. So it was still kind of like going out there a little bit, and I could see that side of things. Just if you're spread thin, you know what I mean. If you are an individual that your time is limited, you only have a couple hunts. And you hunt only one specific property, like I'm not even saying even a crazy weekend warrior. Like if you're just hey, I go out a little bit, and I could see that. But man, the element of surprise is what's been really neat to try to capture. And man, when you could capture that, there's no other better feeling. Like my buddy who I went to Ohio with, Albert, I mean, his mom would have cameras like in certain spots, and he'd be like, hey, look at this. But I had no idea. I'm like, well, I'm just looking, and we're like, yeah, this might be a good spot. Like, let's go here. Let's go. And so that element of the unknown was such a fun opportunity. And then when I saw my first like Ohio tank, I just remember just being like, doing. I was like, dude, this is unbelievable. Like deer actually exist in the wild and not just like they're not factory made to go to a Cabela store. You know what I mean? Like I was so tickled pink, Byron, man. It was awesome. And I like that. It's cool to see. And man, I'm with you. I heard you on the Deer Hunter podcast and about naming deer. It's so funny because my dad and I throughout the years, that one giant buck that we've been kind of chasing, it's just like, yeah, the big 9. Even if he's like an 11 pointer, we're like, yeah, the big 9. That's all we knew to call him. Like he's not Fred, he's not Ted. You know what I mean? There's no name, and it's just so funny to hear. And I like how you were saying if you get the kids involved, like what do we name them? Like the couple deer on the either antlers or sheds, or the deer I have on the wall, like my daughter's like Bucky, there's like she names them, and they didn't have a name prior to being killed.
Yeah, I do love naming them after like a theme or something fun. You got a little history with them, and yeah, so like I was picking movies that my boy was into. So Shrek was a popular. Wreck-It Ralph was a big one, right? Like, it's got to go to the big deer. I had another deer that was smaller. I called him Donkey, right? Shrek and Donkey were running around this particular mountain, and I was looking for both of them,
Yeah, no, dude, that's cool. I like it. So what's what gear are you tinkering with right now that it's the off season?
Ooh, gear tinker wise, like honestly, I need I have that KU 1850 as kind of like a day bag that's like 1800 whatever it is cubic inches. And like I like it, but I don't love it. And so that is something I probably should upgrade. I did just tinker with my camping coffee system recently. I got a mesh like filter, so you don't need any paper filters, and you can use the coffee from like your Mr. Buddy coffee maker. I basically take a tablespoon or a tablespoon and a half and put it in a bag, and I know that bag makes 8-10 ounces of coffee, right? Like, so I literally just bought that within a month, and I've done that 3 times and kind of like that system.
Nice.
What else have I been tinkering with gear wise? I've been shooting stick bow, but like I haven't messed with arrow, and I don't think I'm going to mess with arrows on that. I almost thought about it, but I think my eyes are learning that trajectory. So maybe don't take a step back and introduce something that is going to fly it either just different. Like,
Right.
probably not a good idea.
Right. No, that's cool. I like it. What with that aspect of things, how are you doing like instinctive shooting? Like what's your
Yeah, I'm all instinctive. I've tried to aim an arrow or two and I was like, dude, this is not for me. I plan to mess a little bit more with like either aiming and then also tab versus glove and some of that, because I've got a little more time this year and I've got some fundamentals built right now. Last year I was like shot instinctive at like 5-7 yards and it started working, and I just said only do that. This is you only got so many months till season, so many arrows. So yeah, that I'll tinker a little bit there. Oh, I do think I'm going to go back to the whisker biscuit on the compound.
Okay.
I think I've been looking at doing that for a couple years in a conversation with Kevin and listening to Brian Broderick talk. I think that's the move for me.
Nice. Why? Just explain that one. I like that.
Yeah, just one, you don't like, so you don't have an extra cord coming down. And Kevin said, if you take a bow to a bow shop and they're trying to figure out something skewy going on, what do? They throw a whisker biscuit on. They take a chance of mechanical failure out of it, right? It's a solid. And for somebody bow hunting like myself, like 90% of the deer I shoot are inside of 20 yards or 22 yards. Occasionally I get some 30-yard pokes in the timber, but I don't have like good food plots to shoot 40 plus yards. And I don't plan on doing that. So I'm going to set the bow up to kill deer inside of 30 yards. And I think the plus minus game, I honestly think the whisker biscuit is the route. Now it took some like self pride to like be okay with that, because for years that was the uncool thing to have on your bow, and probably still is the uncool thing. Like, but
I'll tell you, but you're simplifying things, and man, there's that KISS principle, man. Keep it simple, stupid, right? There's logic to it. I tried to this past year with my bow setup. I mean, I ran a drop away rest or not a drop away, a limb driven rest, but I tried to keep it simple. I didn't run back bars or anything like that. It was just, here's what it is. I wanted to just be light, and I didn't even at one point even have a stabilizer on it. I ended up putting one on, but you don't have to.
Yeah,
that's the kicker. So hey man, that's cool. I like it. I like the idea behind it, and like you said, you're going to try to shoot the longbow anyway for a good bit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I might go full stick just to chase some crazy experience, right? You got to give Impossible a chance. How are you going to do that? Perfect example. I muzzleloader hunt this year. I January 8th in the big woods, scout my way in through rain and snow and sleet and kind of that freezing tent. And that I don't know, he had like a 12-inch spike on one side and like a 2.5-year-old average rack on the other. Comes through, breeds a doe at 12 yards, and like, dude, if I'd have had the stick, that would have been the moment of my life. I was shook up with a muzzleloader in my hands and didn't even, I knew I wasn't going to kill him. I'm like, it's just not, this isn't, he's not big enough for me to shoot right now. But I know I would have full send it with the stick in hand.
Yeah, I like that, man. That's cool to hear. What so here's one question: how you're saying about talking to your buddies and hunting with them more. Is that more so in state of Ohio, or are you guys planning on doing a trip or anything like that?
Yeah, I will probably do 1 or 2 trips to certain places.
Yep.
But I know I have one on the docket, and then the others kind of flexed. I could do it, I could not do it. But yeah, I want to hunt with buddies a little more, even if we just, because I've been so solo missions, very focused, getting on some deer, and my buddies are not even within an hour's drive of me at points.
Yeah.
And
I like
so,
that, though.
Yeah, I think I'm going to get back to some of that.
What's one random hunt, dude, that you want to do?
A random hunt that I want to do. So I have I'm not going to give state away.
Right.
But I've kind of, for an efficiency / adventure / backcountry hunt, I would like to take a hunt east of the Mississippi in the Appalachian Range. And I would love to just like do wall tent at my truck, gun, bow, muzzleloader, don't matter. But I would love to be in an area where I could walk into the woods and be chasing like a black bear or deer, like both.
Mhm.
Like be a mountain man-ish for a couple days and drive home. And the reason I say east of the Mississippi, I don't love the fact that if I go west, I spend literally 40% of my time away from my family driving. And then I'm only up to bat one day or every other day. So I'm first shooter 3 out of my 6 days in the backcountry. If I go west, like that's just not, I don't know. That's kind of what I think I'm going to chase that experience here in the east at some point. I have a couple locations marked.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, dude, I'll tell you what, man, that's the one thing. It's been said on our podcast multiple times. We are very lucky, man. Like you're in Ohio, like you're next door to me from the state of Pennsylvania. There's some places that we could travel, man, and have those experiences for sure. It's just a matter of doing them, right? It's just a matter of getting there. But the key thing that you said that I loved was and that's how I feel. Like years ago, I was like, let's go out west. And now that the family's growing and we're I don't want to say expected, but there's certain expectations held here at home that I don't want to be 24 hours drive away. Right. Cause I can't have that. So I do want to be able to maybe say, hey, I could be home overnight after I finish this. Like I'm home. I'm here. It's okay. Yeah. So I'm with you on that one. But there are some really cool hunts that we could get into within this eastern side of things for sure.
Yeah, I do kind of think I want to do take a 30-30 iron sights back into like some hill country where on a state that maybe allows some rifle and do like an old school gun hunt like that kind of style and just be out there and happy. I do think I want to do like a backcountry bow hunt this side of the Mississippi where like I live in the woods for like 2-3 days. Like I know Bill Winky did that. I think that would be kind of cool.
Yeah. Oh man, I like it, dude. I'm fired up for some trips with you. That sounds so cool. I like it. Byron, man, I appreciate you taking the time this morning, chatting with me, dude. I really just respect the hell out of you. I've told you that back in August, and I still do. And it's fun to see your growth. There's other individuals out there that I truly love to see your success. And man, you're one of them. And I appreciate the content that you put out and the fun, your honesty. And I hope you don't change, dude.
Yeah. I appreciate those kind words, man. And yeah, there is a group of us that seem to be some sort of tribe, right? Like we all like some of the same things, and you do root for a few of these guys that you've never had a beer with in person a little more than others, just because you seem to gel with what they got going on, and you're one of those guys for me as well.
No, I appreciate that, man. Well, where could people follow along with what you got going on if they're already not doing so, and maybe catch you on a podcast or video, all that stuff?
Yeah, so I think like we're a couple of months out from launching the 2023 deer season on YouTube. Nice. I try to do some other YouTube content in that meantime, but I would say punch that in the Whitetail Experience. That's the best place to find us. I may go to the Mobile Hunter Expo in Michigan. As far as I think that's the only trade show I'm doing this year, but that's a cool show. That's a cool event.
Yeah, I'll be doing the one in PA this year in August.
Is that on the east side of the state or west?
I think it is eastern.
Yeah, so I looked at drive time for that, and I think, yeah, the Michigan one's it's no joke. I think it's 4 or 5 hours from me, but I think that's the one I'm going to go to.
Yeah, dude, you would have 4 or 5 hours once you hit PA to go, probably. Yeah. On that one. I like it, man. Dude, I appreciate it. Everybody, if you're already not following along with what Byron's doing, I'm telling you, one of the best guys out there, and just straight up individuals. And I can't speak more highly of him. So go follow him, check out his stuff, enjoy it. Thanks again, everybody. Get outside, like Byron was saying, get some sunshine, enjoy it, shoot your bow, get out scouting, whatever it is, spend time with your family. Thanks again, everybody. Antler up.